So this is a continuation on multiplying polynomials. In the last video, we were talking about multiplying by FOILing, but now these are different ways you can multiply polynomials. This is an example of, for one, of a monomial times a monomial. So you're going to multiply the coefficients, so 5 times -2, which gives you that -10. You're going to keep the base, and then you're going to add the exponent. So it would be -10x to the 5th power because it's 2 plus 3. Now this one, you have a monomial times a trinomial, so you're going to distribute the monomial to all of the terms in the trinomial. So -3 times 4, which is -12. You're going to keep the base and add the exponent, so it's going to be -12x to the 4th. Then -3 times a -1, which is a +3. And then you have an exponent of 2 and an exponent of 1, so you're going to make it the x to the 3rd. And then you have a -3 times a +10, which is going to be a -30, and then x squared. This next example for 3 is what's called a different of two perfect squares. It's a special case. But you're going to solve this by using the FOIL method because it's two binomials, and that's the only time you use the FOIL method is when it's multiplying two binomials. So you're going to multiply 2m times 2m, which is 4m squared. So you multiply the coefficients and then add the exponents. Then 2m times -6, which is -12m. 6 times 2m, which would be plus 12m. And then 6 times a -6, which is -36. It's going to turn into 4m squared minus 36, which I said earlier is called a difference of two perfect squares. So this is a special case. And if you notice that 4 and 36 are perfect square numbers. Difference of two perfect squares. Now, this is a binomial multiplied by a trinomial, so you are going to take the first term and distribute that. So it would be 4x times 2x squared, which would be 8x to the 3rd. A 4x times a -3x, which would be a -12x squared. A 4x times a -6, which is a -24x. 4x times a -6. Actually, you're not going to do that again. You would do a -5 times -5 times 2x squared, which would be -10x squared. You're going to do -5 times -3x, which would be a positive 15x, and a -5 times a -6, which would be a plus 30. So you're not going to do 4x times -6 again, so I messed up on that. So you have to give this term to each of the terms and then distribute the second term in the binomial to all of the terms. So now you have this answer, but you have to combine like terms. So when you combine like terms, you just add or subtract the coefficient and keep the base with the exponent the same. So in this case, I want to put in standard form also. So 8x to the 3rd would go first. So I can cross that out. Now I have a -12x, so these are like terms. So I have a -12x squared and a -10x squared. So that would be a -22x squared. So I can cross those out. Then I can combine -24 and a positive 15, which is going to give me a -9x. So I can cross those out. And then I would do plus 30. Now that I've combined all my like terms, that would be my answer for multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. This one is a trinomial times a trinomial. And this one, you're going to kind of do the same thing with the one above, where you're going to distribute to all the terms. So I'm going to do x squared times 3x squared, which is going to be a 3x to the 4th x squared times a negative 10x, which would be negative 10x to the third, x squared times 15, so it would be plus 15x squared, 5x times 3x squared, which would be plus 15x to the third. And then I'm going to do 5x times a negative 10x, which would be negative 50x squared, 5x times 15, which is going to give me a plus 75x. Then I'm going to do 1 times, so it would be plus 3x squared, 1 times negative 10x, which would be negative 10x, and 1 times a positive 15. From here, I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 3x to the fourth. So I would cross that out. Now I have a negative 10x to the third and a positive 15x to the third. So that's going to be a plus 5x to the third. So I can leave that. Now I need to ask myself, can I combine anything else? And in this case, I have a 15x squared, a negative 50x squared, and a 3x. So if I do 15 and minus 50x would be negative 35. And then if I add 3, that's going to be a negative 32x squared. So I can cross those out. Then I have a 75x minus a 10x, which would be a plus 65x. I can cross those out now, and I would be plus 15. And that would be my final answer.